Hello everyone, this is Archivist Sierra Tango, and this is the SCP audio log for SCP-039, codename Monkey Brain, Containment Class Euclid, Level 2 Restriction, Disruption Class VLAN 2, Risk Class Caution 2. Special Containment Procedures. Living SCP-039 instances are to be contained in Site-77's Wilderness Observation Chamber 2B. The interior and exterior of WOC-2B must be monitored by 2 security guards at all times. WOC-2 is to be inspected weekly for sabotage and contraband. Deceased instances are in refrigerated storage and may be accessed for study upon request. SCP-039-A is data expunged. Description: SCP-039 consists of 23 proboscis monkeys, Nautilus larvatus, which have been subject to radical anatomical changes. These alterations are summarized below. The eyes have been removed. New bone growth has filled the eye sockets. No remnants of eyelids or eyebrows remain, only smooth skin. Extreme alterations to the mouth. Oral opening is no longer present. No remnants of lips remain, only smooth skin. Jawbone has been fused in place by new bone growth along the joints. Teeth, tongue, gums, and palate are absent, having been replaced by a large deposit of adipose tissue. Removal of digestive system. The esophagus, stomach, gallbladder, intestines, and bladder have all been replaced with adipose tissue formations of similar shape and volume. Anal orifice has been sealed by new skin growth, leaving no remnants of the anus. It is not clear how SCP-039 instances obtain nutrition and disposed of waste or survive without doing so. Enhancements of auditory, tactile, and olfactory senses. Both absolute and difference thresholds are significantly lower than those of the baseline species. These enhancements allow 039 to effectively navigate their environment despite lack of sight. Instances have been observed tapping on objects when navigating unfamiliar surroundings. This behavior has been theorized to be a form of rudimentary echolocation, but this is yet to be proven. Finally, intelligence enhancements. 039 score consistently higher on all provided cognitive tests than their non-anomalous equivalents. SCP-039 are capable of reproduction. At the time of writing, 5 instances of 039 have been born since containment. 039 show a very close bond among their species, with newborns often being cared for by all capable adults. New instances are born with the same anatomical anomalies as their parents. Despite this, testing has not yet identified any genetic divergence from the baseline species in 039 instances. 039 communicate via touch and a complex series of nasal vocalizations, many of which have not been observed in non-anomalous Nautilus larvatus. Original instances also possess a rudimentary understanding of spoken English. This knowledge is not passed on to newborns, but they do naturally learn some English from exposure to Foundation personnel. Instances of 039 have demonstrated the ability to operate mechanical tools and perform various complex tasks primarily related to automobile construction and maintenance. This knowledge does not appear to be innate, as newborn instances do not possess it. 039 Damage Log. During a regular security patrol, several instances of 039 were noted to be moving through containment unsupervised. Further investigation showed that 039 had used tools obtained from within the walls to disable and remove the security door to its containment chamber. During recontainment operations, a mercenary militia began assaulting the containment wing of Site-77. During the defensive operations, 039 continued roaming supervised and is known to have breached at least one SCP object, SCP-1957, which resulted in the creation of SCP-1837. After SCP-1957 came into contact with E-4250, an unknown anomaly possessed by the group. Post-breach investigation showed that the tools had been left behind and lost during renovations several years previously. Security protocols for animistic containment chambers were made more strict following this incident, as well as construction protocols. Addendum: SCP-039-1 Recovery Log. SCP-039 were recovered in 1998 when Foundation forces raided a Prometheus Labs facility approximately 25 kilometers north-northwest of Redacted, Nevada. The facility was found to have been abandoned an unknown amount of time prior to Prometheus Labs' collapse. Recovered objects of note included 2 automobiles abandoned in the parking lot outside, a third automobile partially disassembled in a cargo bay, an assortment of power tools, spare parts, paints, and other automotive maintenance implements, an assortment of veterinary anesthetics, surgical implements, and data expunged located in an operating room, 20 small cages, presumably for the purpose of containing SCP-039. All cages were empty and partially dismantled, with the doors removed. 2 larger cages, likewise empty and dismantled, containing chimpanzee hair and feces. The frozen remains of a dissected 039 instance, which lacked a nose or nasal passages in addition to the typical anomalies. The remains of 3 adult males, identified via dental analysis as Alan Redacted, Damien Redacted, and Cole Redacted. All 3 individuals had been killed by severe blunt trauma, and remains bore pre- and post-mortem bite marks corresponding to chimpanzee dentation. The Personal Journal of Cole Redacted. See Addendum Number 2. 18 instances of SCP-039 and SCP-039-A. Addendum 039-2. The Personal Journal of Cole Redacted. Note: some entries appear to annotate the early prototyping stage of 039's development. These entries are reproduced below, with portions irrelevant to 039 excised for brevity. This is possibly unnecessary, since Damien's keeping track of all the sciencey stuff, but I need something to do. Dear Diary, I should have brought more books to read. No scientific notes were recovered from the facility. Quote, well, we got the monkeys today. Not the monkeys we wanted, mind you. These are freaking proboscis monkeys. I asked that Werner guy what he was thinking when he got these things, and he just shrugged. Said we didn't specify what kind of monkey we wanted. What kind of weirdo hears monkey and thinks, yeah, I'll get the fat ones with big noses. We wanted rhesus macaques, just like literally every other research facility on the planet. Now we have to refit everything for 20 monkeys that are twice as big as we expected, or else stick them in cages that are too small. I wonder how he got these things. I'm kind of afraid to ask. Dude says he's an actor, but I've never heard of him. Maybe he's in German movies or something with a name like that. Imagine having exotic animal smuggling as your side job. What a weirdo. End quote. Note: only the deceased instances, only 19 instances of 039 were recovered from the facility. Stricken from the document, the whereabouts of the missing 20th instance are unknown. Now, in 1999, the 20th instance was discovered inside of SCP-1328, living in an otherwise abandoned house belonging to, quote, the Red Actors Troupe. End quote. Begin quote. The monkeys are doing fine, passing all the tests way better than they did when they could see. Damien says it's probably because they can remember it better, but I still think at least some of it has to do with not being distracted. I know I think better with my eyes closed. Took the nose off one of the monkeys today to see what would happen. I just figured it would suffocate, but it didn't. Guess it gets the air from the same place as its food now. Makes me wonder just how much we could take out. If it's not breathing, does it really need a heart? That's about the only internal organ it's got left at this point. Pulling the heart won't improve the intelligence any though, so there'd be no point. Just curiosity. The one with no nose isn't moving anymore. We thought it was dead at first, till we checked for a pulse. Poor guy must be depressed. I'd be pretty unhappy too, I guess, if I couldn't see or talk any of my friends, but I could still hear them around me. If he doesn't shape up soon, we'll have to dissect him, see if we can figure out what happened. We're gonna leave the noses on the rest of them, so this doesn't happen again. Called Werner, ordered some chimps. I made sure he knew exactly what animal I was talking about, so he wouldn't show up with an effing baboon or something. Dissected the noseless one today. Couldn't find anything obviously weird. Brain was still intact and everything. Oh well, Damien said that the problem might be specific to this species, since the nose is so important to their social structure. I don't know about that, since I figure the eyes and mouth were pretty darn important too. But we won't know for sure until we try it on a different species. Werner brought us 2 chimps, both males. They're bigger than I expected. Now that we're done with the monkeys, we're handing them over to Alan. He's going to try to teach them some tricks to impress potential donors. Alan says the monkeys are learning quick. I question the wisdom of teaching monkeys to use power tools, but Alan says they don't seem interested in getting up to mischief. Monkey business. Anymore. Must be the procedure. Decided to start with the nose instead this time to see if the monkey really freaked out because it couldn't communicate, or because sanity is somehow dependent on the nose or something. Probably should have tested that on the monkeys, but we were too busy trying to get out of feeding them to be properly scientific about it. I wish our grant request hadn't been denied. Then we'd have enough money for some trial and error. We wouldn't have to rely on some actor for our test subject. I don't like the chimps. The monkeys were all right because they're funny looking, but the chimps are a little too much like hairy people for me. I feel like they're actually seeing me when they look, if that makes any sense. Doesn't help that I know that they're sick, smarter now. I don't think they like me either. Can't wait till we take their eyes tomorrow. In other news, Alan actually got the monkeys to change the tires on his car. They looked funny doing it, like a furry little pit crew. These must be the smartest monkeys on the planet by now, and Alan says they're still learning. The monkeys are basically geniuses at this point. Alan had them wax his car, do an oil change, and some other car stuff that I don't understand. Hopefully that'll convince the guys upstairs to reconsider our grant. Maybe give us what we need to move on to human experimentation. If that doesn't work, we might at least be able to sell these monkeys to Marshall, Carter, and Dark, or somebody as a cheaper, cuter alternative to real auto mechanics. One of the trimps tried to effing bite me today. I'm not going back in there until we take the mouths. Those expletives can starve for all I care. Damien can handle it. He still doesn't want to take the mouths yet, since those are their last facial features, and he's afraid the same thing will happen to the monkey without a nose will happen to them. Got a call from Werner today. Said he still had one more ape for us. I asked him what he was talking about, but he just laughed. Said he'd be here tomorrow and hung up. Doesn't he know we're already struggling? We don't have space for another darn monkey, much less its food. Further information regarding 039A is restricted to personnel level 3 or higher. Addendum 039-3 Information pertaining to 039-A. This access is limited to those with level 3 access and higher. Special containment procedures. 039A is held in a standard humanoid containment chamber adjusted to accommodate its blindness. Description: 039A is an human adult male named Jacob Redacted. By the same process that created 039, 039A's eyes, nose, mouth, and associated organ systems have all been removed. It has experienced similar enhancements to its intelligence and remaining senses, as well as other psychological alterations. The following excerpt from Cole Redacted's journal relate to 039A. Quote, "It's a human. That ape Werner was talking about, it's an effing person. A guy named Jake. Some crackhead he scraped up off the street. Probably just promised him a bunch of drugs to lure him into that creepy red van Werner drives, then dumped him on us. I know our eventual goal here is to boost human intelligence, but we're not ready for human experimentation at this stage. Damien disagrees, says this is a big opportunity. If we can pull off a successful human prototype, then we're bound to get our grant approved, right? He's right, but that doesn't change the fact that this is a whole new level of illegal. Not to mention a whole new level of dangerous. Not sure I want to do it just yet. Not without approval from upstairs. Effing Damien. Last night, that a-hole went behind my back and operated on Jake. Took his whole expletive face off, all at once. Jake's lucky he didn't drop dead right there from the shock. He still hasn't woken up yet, so it might still happen. I told Damien I'd feed him to the effing chimps if he does this again. I'm not prepared to dispose of a body. Shouldn't be hard out here in the middle of the darn desert, but still. Jake woke up today, already moving around and everything. It's kind of creepy how fast he recovered and how calm he is about the whole thing, but I guess he knew what he signed up for. But you think a guy would be at least a little weirded out when he wakes up without a face. There's something weird. Jake says he isn't craving drugs anymore. He still had some on him when he got here, crack or meth or I don't know what, but he wants us to get rid of it. According to him, he'd normally be wanting a fix right now, but he hasn't felt the urge since the operation. I don't know how taking his face off cured his addiction. It enhances intelligence, yeah, but it shouldn't alter your brain chemistry like that. Damien's as stumped as I am. He's been knee-deep in that old Abe book that gave him the crazy idea in the first place, trying to figure it out. I would offer to take a look at it, but I don't speak Latin. Note: no books matching this description were recovered from the facility. Quote, Jake wanted to see the monkeys today, so, despite my better judgment, we took him to Alan. He was training them to build a car engine, and they were doing a great job, believe it or not, but they could tell somebody new was in the room. I guess they smelled him. A couple of them came over and squatted down to pet them. Damien warned him that the monkeys aren't usually very friendly, but they didn't seem to mind. Reached up to touch his face and started snorting a whole lot. Seemed kind of excited. I guess because they found a human who's like them. The whole thing was really weird. Now he wants to see the chimps, but I said no. We can't afford to let our only human test subject get mauled to death. Damien does think we can probably take their mouths off, though, since Jake didn't go nuts like that monkey. I guess we'll do that tomorrow, unless something weird happens with Jake. Damien doesn't want to do the chimps until after they meet Jake. Says he wants to see if they make any unusual vocalizations. I don't know what he expects to see, but he says that after the way the monkeys acted yesterday, it might be worth checking out. I said it's still too dangerous, but Damien got a kind of crappy look about it, so the chimps only act aggressive around me because I don't like them. Said I didn't have to come if I didn't want to, so I won't. I hope they throw crap at him. Well, this is creepy. Damien swears that Jake and the chimps actually communicated. They did that same face-touching thing as the monkeys, and then they were hooting and stuff, and he was nodding his head like he understood. Jake said he didn't know what Damien's talking about, and I'm not sure what to think. Sounds crazy, but then again, so does trusting a guy with no face. I'm starting to think we're in over our heads here. Knew we should have waited for that grant to start human testing. I wish effing Warner hadn't brought us that guy. Oh, and one more thing. Alan was having the monkeys repaint his car. Starting to think he just did this as an excuse to get his car souped up for free, and one of them snuck off with a couple of tools. Took a while to notice he was gone, but me and Alan tracked the little guy down pretty easily, hanging around outside the chimp pen. Not sure where he left the tools, but we can look for them tomorrow. End quote. Note: when MTF Epsilon 6 entered the facility, they discovered 039A living in what was presumably its quarters, sharing living space with several instances of 039. Initial interactions were complicated by 039A's inability to speak, but once communication and writing was established, it willingly entered custody. Addendum 039-4 Interviews. Level 3 access required. The following is an interview of 039A conducted by researcher Leroy Carrison. It communicated its answers by typing on a computer. Begin log. Researcher Carlson. Good morning, 039-A. SCP-039-A waves at Researcher Carlson. Researcher Carlson. I'm Researcher Leroy Carlson. 039-A officers, Researcher Carlson a handshake, which he accepts. Researcher Carlson, I'd like to ask you a few questions about what happened at the Prometheus Labs facility. 039-A nodded. Researcher, first, how do you know Warner Gillespie? 039-A shrugs. He picked me up in Reno, pulled up beside me on the street in a red van, asked me if I wanted to become human. I asked him what the hell he was talking about, and he told me there were some guys out in the desert somewhere who could fix me, make it so I never needed food or water ever again, make me smarter too. Sounded too good to be true, like you said, but I figured I didn't have too much to lose. Besides, he had drugs. So I got in that creepy van with him, and he took me out to that place in the desert. Researcher Carlson, do you know anything else about him? 039 shook his head in response. 039A, we didn't exactly have a heart-to-heart. Carlson, did he say why he was interested in this project? 039A, nope. Just said he was helping those guys in the lab find test subjects. Carlson, I see. Is there anything else you know about him? 039A, he said he was an actor. Oh, and the van had Florida plates. Carlson, have you had any contact with Gillespie since he brought you to the facility? 039A, nope. Carlson, are you sure? There seemed to be some objects missing from the laboratory and 2 chimpanzees. 039A, I'm sure. The chimps left on their own after they killed those guys. Figured out how to open a door, ran off into the desert. Probably died out there since they still needed food and water. Carlson, then why didn't you leave the facility? 039A, hey, just because I don't need water doesn't mean I can't have a heat stroke. Didn't need to worry about finding food or anything, so I decided to stick around. I figured someone would find me eventually. Too bad it was you guys. Carlson, huh. Do you know anything about any books or research notes that the scientists who operated on you may have had? 039A, nope. Like I said, I was just a test subject. Carlson, interesting. While we're on the subject, how exactly did the chimpanzees escape their cages? 039A, beats me. Cole probably forgot to lock the cages or something. Even smart people make mistakes. Carlson, I suppose. Note, he's lying. I'm requesting the use of enhanced chemical interrogation techniques. Researcher Carlson, 039A, you don't believe me, do you? Carlson, I'll ask the questions here, thank you. 039A, will you? Or are you just going to sit there and write? Carlson, I'll write as long as I want. 039A, fine then, take your time. It's not like I have anywhere else to be anyway. You're just going to be putting me back in my cell when we're done, right? Right. 039A removes its hands from the keyboard and leans back with them behind its head. Researcher Carlson finishes writing. Okay, 039A, just one more question. 039A, you really enjoy calling me that, don't you? Makes it easier to forget that I'm a human person. Researcher Carlson, are you able to communicate with the monkeys? 039A, what? The journal we recovered indicates you may have been able to communicate with them and the altered chimpanzees in some way. Oh, that must be Cole's journal. You know he's an idiot, right? Not to mention a dick. He didn't like me or the chimps. Researcher Carlson, are you saying that you can't communicate with other 039 instances? 039A, I mean, can you communicate with your dog? They're smart animals. Carlson, yes, but I can talk to my dog, and he can see me. You and the monkeys can't do either of those things. 039 hesitates. I'd like to go back to my cell now. They proceed to cross their arms. Researcher Carlson, this interview is not over. 039A does not respond. You're not going to cooperate, are you? 039A shakes its head. Carlson, fine, but this isn't over. End log. Researcher Carlson's request for chemical interrogation is pending Ethics Committee approval, as SCP-039A's altered physiology, metabolism, and psychology make the effects of amnestics and similar drugs on it difficult to predict. Below is the transcript of Researcher Carlson's second interview with 039A conducted the following day. Begin log. Researcher Carlson. Hello again, 039A. 039A does not respond. Carlson, I'd like to ask you some questions about the procedure that removed your face. 039A nods slowly. First, how was it performed? 039A, what do you mean? Carlson, was it a surgical operation? A magical ritual? Were you genetically modified? 039A shrugs. They didn't tell me the specifics, and I was out during the operation. Researcher Carlson, you didn't ask? 039A shakes head. It's not like I would have understood the science anyway. They just told me it would make me smarter, and I wouldn't have to eat anymore, and that I'd go blind, but my hearing would get better so it wouldn't be so bad. Carlson, and you agreed to this? A nods. You would have to. Carlson, what makes you say that? 039A thinks briefly. Rough estimate. How much money do you spend on food every month? Groceries, restaurants, everything. Carlson, a couple $100. It varies. 039A. Now imagine that you still had those $100 every month. That's more than $1,000 a year. What would you buy with that? Something that you want but don't have right now because of your budget? Carlson, well, I've been trying to complete my rare coin collection. 039A. Cool. So just think, if you didn't have to eat, you'd have all those rare coins. Carlson, well, yeah, but I like eating. 039A. Do you? Or is that just your biological need to eat tricking your brain into enjoying something it doesn't really have a choice about? Carlson, of course I like eating. I mean, maybe not always, but when I go to a fancy restaurant or something I do. 039A. Okay, fine. Let me put it like this. You want to lose some weight, right? Researcher Carlson, what? Looking down at his own body. 039A, just guessing. Most of you people do. Carlson, us people? 039A, people who can afford to eat. Before I got my face off, I only got to eat if I went to a homeless shelter or fished something out of the trash. But you have the opposite problem, don't you? Eating too much. Carlson, well, I suppose so. 039A, now imagine if you never had to worry about that. If you didn't have to try and fail to exercise self-control when you reach for one more piece of cake or one more deep-fried whatever. Because you can't eat. But that doesn't bother you because you don't want to anyway. Pretty soon after your operation, your body will naturally reach a healthy weight. But you can still build muscle. Heck, I was skinny as a post before I got rid of my face. Now look at me. Carlson, I think I'll stick with my diet. 039A, how about this then? How much time do you spend eating every day? Carlson, look, I just want to know more about the procedure itself. This really isn't necessary. 039A, You wanted to know why I volunteered, didn't you? I'm trying to explain it to you. Or do you not really want to know? Carlson. Fine. Carry on. 039A. So, how much time do you spend eating? Carlson. I don't know, maybe an hour total? 039A. And how much time do you spend cooking? Shopping for food? Driving back and forth to the place where you shop? Bringing in the grocery? Putting them away? Or when you go to a restaurant, how much time do you waste deciding where to go, driving out there, waiting for your table, waiting to order, waiting for the food, waiting for the check, and then after you eat, how much do you spend crapping every day? How much of your life is wasted sitting on a toilet, wiping your own butt, smelling your own crap like an animal? Do you have any idea how much of your short life is wasted fulfilling base biological needs? How much of the stuff you want to do with your life never gets done because you're too busy doing what you have to? Carlson, sighing. I understand that, but I like my face where it is. 039A shakes its head slowly. Well, maybe if you were in the shoes that I was in, you'd think differently. From where I was, a face was a small price to pay. I guess it doesn't matter now, though, since I'm in a box. Carlson, I'm sorry about that, but surely you can understand the kind of uproar that a man with no face would cause if we just let you wander around in public. 039A hesitates for several seconds, fingers hovering above the keyboard. 039A. Did you have any other questions? Carlson. Well, we are wondering if you've experienced any other physiological changes. The monkeys showed much higher cognitive performance than unaltered ones, and we want to know if you've experienced anything similar. Definitely. It's a little more complicated than just being smarter, though. Carlson. How so? 039A. Well, it's all about attention. I can hear better now, what with this, but I also listen better, if that makes any sense, because I'm not distracted anymore. I never realized it before, and you probably don't either. I'm not sure anybody can if they still have a face, but people are always distracted, thinking about 1,000 different things, worrying about your job, or, in my case, lack of one, trying to figure out what you're going to have for dinner, where you're going to sleep, where you're going to get your next fix, whatever that is for you. But I don't have to deal with that anymore, so I can pay attention. Really pay attention when I'm listening, and remember all of it. And when I'm thinking, trying to solve a math problem or something, I can concentrate. Really concentrate. It's like the difference between being sober and being drunk. Carlson. Speaking of which, the documents we found indicate that you were addicted to drugs before the operation. 039A. I was a crackhead before they took my face off, but I haven't craved it even a little bit since the operation. Didn't even withdraw. That's interesting to you, I imagine? Carlson. Yes, it is. Do you know why this is the case? 039A, not specifically. Seemed like Damien and the other guys didn't expect that, but I do know. Intrinsically? Spiritually? I can feel it, if that makes any sense. Carlson. Can you explain this feeling? 039A. It's simple, really. It's like what I was talking about with the food. Now that my face is gone and a whole bunch of my other organs too, I don't know which ones exactly, but most of them, I'm cut off from that. From what? Urges, base instincts, the monkey brain. Before my body craved things, food, water, sex, drugs, booze, I could barely think, really think, the way I do now. But not anymore. When they removed my face, they removed the monkey. Now it's just me in here. Just a rational human being in complete control of himself. End log. Final note. Group of interest. Prometheus Labs. Creator of 039 and many other SCPs. Prometheus was no god. That's something that many people forget or do not understand. He was neither a god nor a man, but made of older stuff. He was a titan. When Gaia and Uranus mated, they made many children. The Hecatonocares, the Cyclops, and a dozen other monsters that roam the earth. Each one Uranus imprisoned back inside Gaia, all of them, until she bore the Titans, whom he was pleased to look upon. Mind you, his son Saturn later castrated him and usurped him at Gaia's urging. But this was the way of things for Greeks. When Zeus later rose up against the Titans in their cruel reign, only a handful of the Titans fought with the gods, Themis and Prometheus. The gods were later successful. It would be foolish to claim that Prometheus was the sole originator of their victory, and I will not do so, though many of the ancient authors did. Prometheus fought, after all, for selfish reasons. Men. Prometheus granted writing, science, farming, medicine, and math to the humans, his children. The gods granted suffering and demanded sacrifices. When did Prometheus ever ask for a burnt carcass in his honor? Men were one of his creations, you see. He wanted them kept safe and strong and viable. He wanted them to be blessed by the gods and looked after. Zeus was angered when he stole fire and had him chained to a rock to have his liver eaten by an eagle each day. Just as Prometheus stole fire from the gods, so too do we wrest the secrets from the universe daily. How mystical and magical must fire have been at one time. How dangerous and unbelievable. Could you imagine if the only source for something, the only thing you could relate it to, was a star? How unbelievable it must have been to the ancient Greeks. And now, a trivial thing once deified. Such is the way of all great magics, such is the way of all great works, such is the way of all unknown things. With study and intuition, the mystical becomes common. No sacrifices are needed, and no blood is given. The doors of the universe are opening to us ever further. Let us step through. Quote from the Prometheus Labs hiring packet, circa 1982. Written by Redacted. Prometheus Labs Incorporated was a private, for-profit conglomerate that was based around scientific research and development. Founded in 1892, the company focused exclusively on researching and developing anomalous technology for commercial and private sale. Prior to the events of Data Expunged, In 1998, Prometheus Labs was considered to be one of the most prolific competitors of the Foundation. It had a large public profile as a purveyor of high-quality electronic, medical, pharmaceutical, automotive, optical, and industrial goods produced from anomalous research. Prometheus Labs also had classified contracts from various worldwide militaries, primarily the United States. It developed numerous specialized technologies for these groups, aiming at their enhancing of military capabilities, such as redacted. Prometheus Labs was affiliated with most of the major groups of interest, having engaged in lawsuits with Wondertainment Industries, purchasing objects from Marshall Carter and Dark, working with the Church of Maxwellist Writ to develop brain-machine interfaces, divining low-cost food alternatives for the Mana Charitable Foundation, sold tools and supplies to Are We Cool Yet?, the Global Occult Coalition, and the Chaos in Surgery, and waged multiple espionage against GRU Division P. Prometheus Labs was neither openly antagonistic nor helpful to the Foundation. The Foundation offered to design custom containment protocols for Prometheus Labs' more volatile object, but were declined. Following data expunged and the resulting cover-up, many of the projects in development were seized by the Foundation and surviving personnel taken into the Foundation's employment. It is believed that other groups of interests also stole projects and research from other facilities. Prometheus Labs had numerous networks, branches, and affiliates and offices around the world. Although all of these locations had generalized work, they were primarily dedicated to individual specialized fields of research. For instance, the Prometheus Labs branch in Kolkata focused on optical research with lasers, while the New Mexico facility was dedicated to computer sciences. Prometheus Labs also had more esoteric facilities, such as a lab in the Marianas Trench that researched planetary engineering. Certain documents indicate the existence of a fully self-sustained facility on Mars, which studied nuclear physics and quantum mechanics, and a facility constructed in the Jurassic period that researched genetic engineering, though these facilities have yet to be located. This has been the audio log for SCP-039. Please continue on to the audio log for SCP-040.